Hello everyone and welcome to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. We are going to have a Super League race for you today with Rudy Van Buren, who has already wrapped up the championship of course, on pole position. He will be followed by his teammate Risto Capit in the other Vodbull car, followed by Florian Gaia, Diego Baldi, Alex Cooper, Sergi Heras, Fran Lopez, David Franchik, Chris Shepherd, Gerrit de Vries, Tobias Olsen, Liam Duval, Thomas Hinz, Michael Gauke, Stefan Ruhl, Ben Horrell, Yal Tyen, Matthew Marquard, Bruce Zupanek, Zupanek? Sorry, I'm not very good at pronouncing that name, I'll have to check that one afterwards. Nick Rowland, Lucas Ehler, David Feidock, and that will bring up the field. So, as I said, it's Rudy Van Buren starting from the front of the grid. I should apologise now before we get going about the fact that I haven't put in so much editing and replays into this as I would with the ITC. It's because I really wasn't expecting to do this, so I don't really have time to. It's just that because we didn't have a proper broadcast of this race when it happened live, I just wanted to show it now because I thought it would be a shame to miss out on, seeing as this is the top series of the GPVWC, and I know that there's a big fan base for it, me included, so I'm going to bring you some racing today. I'm your commentator, Joshua Jones, and I'm looking forward to this one. So, Rudy Van Buren making his way to the grid in the lead. It will be his teammate Risto Capit alongside him. As we've seen so many times so far this series, Vodbull has been the team to beat season long. At the back of the field will be David Feidock making up the order. When he goes into place, you'll see the lights at the side of the screen start to tick on. Go! They're out! So off we go! And it is a good start from oh, collision down behind. It's a good start from Rudy Van Buren, but they are crashing behind them. Oh goodness, there's a massive pile up at the back. It looks like Nick Rowland off at the back, or is it Michael Gauke? Rowland's on, Gauke's off, so Gauke is missing a front wing, as I believe is Ben Horrell. And who's that as well? Gerrit de Vries. So, big accident up the front. Oh, and Chris Shepherd's been for a spin as well. I didn't see how that happened, but Chris Shepherd has been for a spin. Actually, I'm going to go for a replay of that start quickly, because that was absolute carnage, and I didn't quite see enough of it to understand what happened. So we're going to look at it from onboard David Franchik here. Oh, he just gets turned into. Oh, and again, who's that? That would have been, oh my word, as Michael Gauke goes for a flight. Who was that? So it looks as if, yeah, there's an orange car there. Fran Lopez, who just seems to, he doesn't get contact from anyone. He just seems to move over a bit sharply into the car alongside him. And then unfortunately it all just kicks off behind him. That doesn't explain what happened to Chris Shepherd though, so I'm going to find where he was in the order. Shepherd was running 8th alongside Fran Lopez, or just behind Tobias Olsen actually, and he's going to go to the inside of Olsen, just misjudge it, give him a bit of a wallop and go off the road. Although Lopez did a very good job of avoiding him there actually. But anyway, Chris Shepherd is going to return to the race in 21st rather, and last position. It looks like we have lost Ben Horrell, which means that there are 21 cars remaining in this race, and at the head of them it's the two Vodbull cars of Rudy Van Buren and Risto Capit, and they're going to come through to complete this first lap of the race here at the Autodromo Hermanos. No, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez was last round. This will be the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, rather. So, after lap 1, it's Rudy Van Buren, Risto Caput, Florian Gaia, Gergo Baldi, Alex Cooper, Sergi Heras, Tobias Olsen, Yao Tyan, Fran Lopez, and then we have side-by-side for 10th as Thomas Hintz and Stefan Ruhl are going at it. And Hintz is going to keep that for now. It's Ruhl in 11th, Zupanek in 12th, followed by Liam Duval, David Franchik, Matthew Marquardt, David Fidok, Lucas Uhle, Nick Rowland, Chris Shepherd after his spin, and in the pits are Gerrit de Vries, Michael Gauke and Ben Horrell, who will be out of the race. Now, the gap for the lead appears to have extended a bit. These two appear to have spread out, so it looks as if Rudy Van Buren has lengthened his lead a bit, as we'd expect him to do. Van Buren's just been utterly dominant this year, and to be honest, the closest battle is probably that for 4th now between Gergo Baldi and Alex Cooper. But I'm going to keep an eye on the battle for the first 3 spots, because I tell you what, Florian Gaia is not letting him go, is he? Although 4th and 5th are getting close here. Let's see what happens for these places. Well, they're definitely not close enough here. Of course, these cars don't really follow that well through the corners. They get a lot of slipstream on the straight, but they have such short braking distances that it's very difficult to try to launch a move anywhere. Took a look out of the slipstream there, but I think that was just to think about it. He wasn't really committed to it there. It wasn't a full-on attack, and the same thing is happening again down into turn 5. Now, I don't expect turn 5 will be a place we'll see many overtakes today. We'll expect them all to be down into either turn 1 or turn 4. 4 probably being the most ideal of those in terms of heavy braking. Bit of a kick out of the rear of Gergo Baldi's car there as we come through the S's. Now, you'll notice that all of these top 5 drivers are starting the race on the ultra-soft tyre, as Baldi locks up slightly. And we've seen that the ultra-soft tyre does not tend to last long, so strategy will probably come into play here in this race, and I'm not entirely sure how long they'll be able to go. 6 or 7 laps on this, possibly 8 if they conserve them well. The ultra-softs, of course, are the fastest tyre in the race, but they don't last for very long. And of course, you do have to use at least 2 of the 3 tyres available to, or dry tyre compounds available to use in this race. We have the ultra softs, which are being worn by the top 5 now. We have the super softs, which are the red wool compound, and the yellow wool compound are the softs. And I believe there are a few of those drivers towards the back. I'm just going to check here. Going up through the order. Yeah, we've got Michael Gauke, who of course pitted after that one. Probably switched onto softs to try and go for a longer stint. Is it? I think No, I've passed Yao Tyan. He's on super softs. Oh no, here's Yao Tyan. Moving up to 7th actually. So Tyan's had a very good start on these soft tyres. Of course, helped by the carnage that happened ahead of him. And here's our leading soft tyre runner at the moment, so Yao Tyan, it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy he goes for, because he'll be on a different strategy to the rest of the field. Everyone else, apart from Gauke, who pitted after lap 1, is on the ultra soft compound, so Tyan going for a different tyre strategy in this race. We'll see what he can do. Of course, you do have to start the race on the tyre compound that you set your qualifying lap on, but after that it's just a complete free-for-all in terms of tyre choice. So early on in the race I expect the tyre strategies will be very similar, but later on we might well get some different strategies later on. There is an optimum strategy that I think we'll be seeing used in this race, which is, it tends to be about 4 stops in a race, because these tyres really don't last for very long. So 4 stops will probably take you to the end if you conserve your tyres right. And I expect it should be 1 ultra soft stint followed by 3 super soft stints, or possibly an ultra soft, a super soft, and an ultra soft. And actually, if you're going for 4 stops rather, I just read out a 3 stop strategy. It would be another super soft strategy in the middle. So I expect the middle of the race will be held quite solely on super softs. Up the front, however, Risto Capit is indeed catching his teammate Rudy Van Buren again. I'm not sure what sort of team orders we've seen from this team in the past. I'm relatively new to Super League. But whatever the case, the gap has certainly come down. 4th and 5th appear to be about the same distancing apart that they were before. The battle for 10th is now David Franchik and Bruce Zupanek, so it looks as if Thomas Hintz has dropped behind these two. I think he was ahead before. And David Fidok from the back of the field has made his way up to 13th. So good showing from David Fidok so far in this race. I believe it was also Matthew Marcard involved in the opening incident. So he was the other car you saw flying and spinning. I was actually quite worried there because as I switched back to the leaders, I couldn't see Risto Capit in the shot, and I sort of thought that he'd been caught up in some kind of incident and dropped behind Florian Gaia for some reason. But luckily, no such incident did occur. So everything fine there. Sergei Harris is actually being caught a bit by Yaltain here. Yaltain really making the softs work. He's being able to push on these tyres because he knows that they're less likely to go off quickly than the others. Oh, I tell you what though, he won't want to be doing too many of those moments there as he kicks out the rear end through turn 4. That can really eat away at the tyre. Of course, the added friction of the car moving sideways as well as forwards just basically briefly doubles the tyre wear. Now, I believe I just heard some kind of accident. Is Liam Duval missing a front wing? He is indeed. I'm going to quickly rewind the footage and see how that happened. It's going to be a collision with Nick Rowland here. So Rowland is he just overshot it, going it through turn 2, overcooked it, got over the curb and spun the car around. And now as he's going to get going, if I switch into Liam Duval's point of view, Duval's just going to have nowhere to go. Oh! Probably should have gone to the inside there. It looked as if Rowland was certainly trying to keep out of the way of him, and indeed Rowland is out of the race, I'm afraid. We've had a pit stop from Stefan Ruhl, so Ruhl is one of the first guys... Oh, he's actually tagged the pit wall on the exit there. One of the first guys onto the super soft compound. So that's interesting. Also, is Gerrit de Vries on the super softs? He is indeed. So it looks as if a couple of pit stops are taking place here. Now, the leaders still haven't pitted, so... Oh, wait, they have. So, Rudy Van Buren is in the pits right now. And let's see what tyres he switches onto. So, he's on the Ultra Softs at the moment. You can see the blistering on the front right. He's onto Super Soft. So, as I expected, the middle section of the race will be taken up on Super Soft tyres. Let's see where he comes out. So, the first of the first 3 cars to pit was Rudy Van Buren, and I expect that Capit and Gaia will be in either this time round or next time round. So Rudy Van Buren, for now, is going to come out 7th, just ahead of Bruce Zupanek. Thomas Hinz and David Fidok were battling for 9th. Fidok has made up several positions again. He was in 13th last time I looked, now he's in 10th. So Fidok really making progress here. And now, as we enter the final sector, I think I'll switch to the view of the top 3 cars just to see who pits and who doesn't. They're actually getting very close now. Actually, Florian Gaia really catching up to Risto Capit, who pits. So Capit is in this time round. Gaia will presumably be in next time round. Also in is Gergo Baldi. So Gergo Baldi is in as well. We'll see the tyre strategies that these two are going on to. I presume they're both super softs rather. Super soft. Indeed, that is the case. Now, where will Risto Capit come out in relation to his teammate Rudy Van Buren? Did he make that last lap work? We're going to see as they come out. Oh, yeah, Van Buren has gone through, and he's out and away. So that strategy there has really worked for Rudy Van Buren, who has demoted Capit and Gaia Oh, that's Fidok. So, oh, of course, Guy hasn't pitted yet. What am I saying? That's David Fidok, who's already made his way past Thomas Hinz. So, David Fidok absolutely flying in this race. Absolutely brilliant drive so far from Fidok. We are just... does that mean... It says lap 9 down here. Does that mean we're on lap 9 or we've completed 9 laps? Well, I know a better way to check. Out. Oh. Okay, well the lap chart isn't loading in, so that's not very handy. Gerrit de Vries, meanwhile, has also pitted. Florian Geyer now is into the pits from the provisional lead of the race. He's probably and presumably going to get demoted by Risto Capit here. You actually saw the two Vodbull cars going past in the background as Geyer does switch onto the super soft tyres. Also into the pits is Fran Lopez. Of course, Lopez will probably be under investigation for that opening incident. Florian Geyer has really lost quite a lot here. It looks as if he's going to come out side by side with his teammate. Admittedly, his teammate David Fidok hasn't pitted yet, but Lopez has actually, or Geyer rather, has actually dropped behind his teammate David Fidok, who is presumably going to move over for him down into turn 5 here. Indeed he does. He knows that they're on different strategies and he can afford to let him go for now. So David Fidok... Actually, that proves the pace of Fidok's car, because the pit lane will presumably lose you about 15 seconds in this race, and I mean, Fidok was far further behind than that earlier on in the race, so he's really been catching this group. Rudy Van Buren is going to pull a move on Sergi Heras, who pits anyway. That, of course, was only on track and not effectively because, of course, Sergi Heras, we all knew, was going to pit. The leader of the race at the moment is Jarl Tyen on his soft compound of tyres. Of course, he took an alternative strategy to the others, meaning that he will be basically in a group of his own now, and we will presumably only see how he properly slots into the rest of the order later on in the race. You can see that Rudy Van Buren, despite the fact he's already had one pit stop, is really catching Jarl Tyen now and will possibly pass him on the road. Oh, Tyen's gone very wide into that last last corner in the Senna S there. So Van Buren, it's probably only a matter of time before he attacks, but this will really be hampering Van Buren because he knows that he's not racing Jarl Tyen, and yet he has to get past him. Tyen, of course, won't want to give way because he's in his own race. So Rudy Van Buren being hampered here, and Risto Capit will be rubbing his hands with glee and hoping that he can catch up here. Watch Jarl Tyen going, well... He's still not pitting, but Rudy Van Buren is going to the inside anyway, and Van Buren passes him on the straight. That's what he needed to do, and that's what he has done. So we've had a change for the lead. It is now Rudy Van Buren, as it always effectively was. Of course, Risto Capit wouldn't have been hoping for those two ahead of him to come together there, because of course Van Buren is his teammate. And that means that he does benefit from him in terms of the Constructors' Championship. But I don't know, as I said earlier, I don't know what kind of team orders they have in the Vodbull Racing squad, but if Capit is allowed to fight for the win, then he would have been hoping that Tyen would have held up Van Buren for longer than that. And now, of course, Capit has his own problem of getting past Tyen himself. So whether Jarl Tyen will pit this time round or not, Capit will be hoping that he does, of course, but we'll see. To be honest, Tyen can probably make his tyres last for at least another 5 laps, possibly even longer than that, so we'll be able to see how long the soft tyre works. But whatever the case, Risto Capit has demoted Jarl Tyen in exactly the same way that his teammate Rudy Van Buren did a lap ago, and that place has changed there. That was for second place in the race, although effectively Capit was there anyway. Now Florian Geyer, what can Geyer do about Jarl Tyne, and will Jarl Tyne pit before Gaia can catch up to him? We're approaching a bit of backmarker traffic now. I think that's Matthew Marquardt just up the road, and it looks to me like Rudy Van Buren's already safely past him. So, and Risto Capit now does exactly the same thing. And Florian Gaia has really caught up to Jarl Tyne in this sector. So Tyne, obviously a lot slower than the other drivers now on his soft tyres. You can see the blistering on the rear tyres. It's almost like they've had some kind of colourless flag painted on them. A bit like the Belgian or the Irish in terms of its colour formation. But anyway, here comes Florian Gaia for third place, and this is going to be a walk in the park for Florian Gaia, as he's just going to outbrake him into turn 1. Tyne locks up slightly, and that is another place that has changed. Now, next up to pass Jarl Tyne will be Tyne's own teammate, Gergo Baldi. So, whatever Baldi can do, he of course will not want to cause any kind of trouble to his teammate, because of course they are teammates. So we'll see what happens there as we round the very fast turn 5, probably the trickiest corner on the track in my opinion. It's very easy to get up on the curb on the inside and just lose it, or misjudge the braking on going into the corner, because it is partially blind being uphill. But no such problems for Jarl Tyne this round, and as expected, Gergo Baldi's really been catching him here, and Jarl Tyne very slow out of that last corner there, possibly actually trying to give his teammate a bit of slipstream. He knows that his teammate is fighting for higher positions than him, and is he pitting this time round? He is indeed. So this is one strategy that I'm interested in, because of course Jarl Tyne is on a different strategy to everyone else in this race. And we'll see what he can do this time round as he pits from what was 4th position, and he is also going for a middle stint on the super soft tyre. Now, where will Jarl come out? He's down in 9th position at the moment. This of course will be his effective position, because I believe that after this everyone else would have done at least one stop by now. He's going to come out side by side with David Fidok. So will Fidok be able to demote him to 10th round turn 4? No, not this time around. I'm going to go back through the order a bit just to check that everything's okay in the lower part of the order. Into the pits again comes Stefan Ruot, who was, I believe, fighting for higher positions earlier in this race, so I don't know what appears to have happened to Stefan Ruot. We of course have lost Nick Rowland and Ben Horrell, unfortunately. Another car into the pits there, that will be one of the back markers. And Rudy Van Buren has an absolutely dominant lead now over Risto Capit and Florian Gaia, who themselves have extended a bit. So, the soft tyres, I estimate, appear to have lasted Jarl Tyne about 15 laps. So, it's about 15 laps on the soft tyre, 8 laps on the ultra soft, which means on the super soft, if you follow the same pattern, you should be able to go about 12 laps. So that will mean that because I think Van Buren pitted on lap 8 on the super softs, off the ultra softs, he will probably be able to go 12 laps on the super soft. So that means that he'll pit about lap 20 again. So that's when I estimate the next pit stop will be for our leader Rudy Van Buren and his 2nd and 3rd place compatriots Risto Capit and Florian Gaia. 4th is Gergo Baldi after the first pit stop stage. 5th will be Alex Cooper, followed by Sergi Heras, Fran Lopez, Jarl Tyne, David Fidok, David Franchik. My goodness, Fidok's already ahead of Franchik. He's really flying in this race so far. Thomas Hintz, Lucas Euler, Tobias Olsen, Bruce Zupanek, Chris Shepard, Stefan Ruel, Gerrit de Vries, Liam de Waal, who is side by side with one of the orange cars further up the order, Michael Galke, Matthew Marquardt, and then the 2 retirements. So, that's the order so far. I honestly can't remember if it's 10 points or... I mean, 10th place, the last point scoring position, or 15th. I think it's 10th in Superleague. No, it's 15th for all series, isn't it? So I'm going to say that 15th is the final point in this, although don't take my word for it. I did research that just before this race, but I honestly can't remember it. Oh, I thought I just found my notes, but that particular note was from Formula Challenge, which I did the other day. Never mind. Anyway, Hints and Cooper getting very close for 9th position here. These two have not been together for the whole race. In fact, I believe that Alex Cooper... Well, Cooper was running right up the order earlier, wasn't he? In 5th position. So, has Cooper had some sort of spin recently, or some sort of other problem such as that? He's going to the inside of Thomas Hints as they crest the hill. And will he pit this time? I think he's pitting, yes. So into the pits comes Alex Cooper. And I'm not entirely sure why he's where he is in the order, because I'm sure that he was further up the order earlier on. I'll have to ask him about that later. I believe I just heard some kind of accident. What appears to have... What's happened? Whenever I hear a crunch noise like that, I know that something's happened. Oh, that's Sergei Heras missing a front wing. I'm going to quickly rewind the footage and find out what happened. He was running in 5th place, so this was a big car in terms of the order. He's just going to overcook it in turn 4, isn't he? Yeah, possibly gets onto the grass on the outside, and he's made hefty contact with the inside wall. Here it is from on board his car. He's just too eager with the throttle, isn't he? He was just too eager with the throttle. And unfortunately for Sergei Heras, that's going to drop him right back down the order. He was running 5th. He's going to have to pit at the end of this lap for a new front wing. And that will put him even further down the order. That is David Fidok behind him. So Fidok now running 8th position. I'm very impressed by the run of David Fidok, who, remember, started 22nd in this race after not setting a competitive time in qualifying. Fidok actually struggling to get past Heras here. But whatever the case, Heras is going to pit this time round. Oh my goodness, Heras really misjudging the loss of downforce that he has. Of course, without your front wing, the car gets very, very rear heavy in terms of downforce, and that makes it very easy to just understeer straight off the track as the front tyres struggle to find grip. And that's exactly what just happened. He really needed to have slowed that one down much more than he did. Now watch the number at the top of the screen. That's going to indicate where he is in terms of the order. It's going to be a longer pit stop than usual due to the fact that his team have to put on the front wing as well, which they do now, and he might well come out in the final points paying position in 15th position. We'll see who needs to pass him. It's Alex Cooper, who's just pitted anyway, so I think Heras might effectively be in the last point scoring position. But then again, Heras would probably have done a tyre change there. His tyres look relatively new. So, yeah, 14th position for Sergei Heras for now. These two are getting close, aren't they? Matthew Marquardt and Michael Galka for 18th position. Of course, these two both are lapped down and not fighting for points, as Gerrit de Vries is out of the race. How's this happened? It appears to be relatively recently, judging by the sector time in the bottom left. But if I just rewind the footage quickly, we should hopefully be able to see how on earth that happened. He's crashed in the pit lane. How on earth this happened? He's just been too eager with the throttle, spun it in the pit lane, and it looks as if he's just given up. Round he goes, so he didn't hit anything. And he's just going to get returned to his garage. So, obviously, not, well, a very unusual incident to the kind we're used to seeing there. But whatever the case, Gerrit de Vries is out of this race. As into the pits, we just had one of the higher placed cars. I recognise that livery. Who who's that in the pits? So Fran Lopez pits. Wasn't Jarl Tyne, so it must have been Gergo Baldi who just pitted. And he is going to come out in 6th position now. Just alongside David Fidok. Why is it that every time someone comes out of the pits, they appear to be alongside David Fidok? It's David Fidok every single time, which is quite ironic. But anyway, Baldi will be hoping to demote Fidok quickly. Fidok, oh no, that wasn't Fidok locking up, that was the backmarker ahead of them, as to the inside goes Gergo Baldi, and Fidok has to concede that. I think Fidok's probably due a pit stop quite soon, actually. Now it's lap 20, so I'm going to see if any of the leaders pit this time round. Will it be Rudy Van Buren? No, he's going to try and make his tyres go a lap longer. As is Risto Capit, and is our 3rd place driver Jarl Tyne going to as well? He does indeed, although it looks to me as if Florian Geyer has already... Where's Florian Geyer? Oh, he pitted that time around. So Geyer pitted that time around. I was worried then, I couldn't find him in the order, but Geyer pitted that time around, and he's come out in 3rd position, just ahead of Jarl Tyne in the number 33. 33 at Brazil. Do you think that's a bit of a good omen? Well, we'll have to see. He's certainly running well at the moment, although that might just be because of his alternative strategy. We'll have to see what happens later on in the race and where he slots in after the final pit stop stage. Is that oh no, that's just a bit of a glitch. Never mind. Bit of lag going on. I thought there was some kind of accident happening up ahead of him, but luckily that was not the case, and everything appears fine there. Now, who's going to pit this time round? So Tyne's just pitted, of course, as has Geyer. And both of the Vodballs stay out, so neither of those two pit this time round, and indeed everyone in the top 5 is staying out. Gergo Baldi is probably effectively in 4th position because he pitted quite recently and Jarl Tyne hasn't done, so it's probably Baldi 5th. And is this Thomas Hinds in 6th? It is indeed. Hinds I don't think has pitted recently, but anyway, we're having a move for 11th place now. Oh no, that's a lapped car, isn't it? Who's that? That was Liam Duval. So Liam Duval going for a move on someone else there. On someone else that was a lap ahead of him, I should say. Of course, you are allowed to do that. Blue flags only indicate when the leaders are actually faster than you and are coming up to lap you. So you are allowed to make a move back, but it's generally considered rather cheeky to do so. And most drivers don't really approve of it. And of course the thing you really don't want to do is take off one of the leaders as a backmarker. That's one of the most embarrassing things you can possibly do in any motorsport, as Rulk gets a bit of... Well, Zupanek rather gets a bit of a slide through the penultimate to penultimate corner, if that makes sense. The first sweeper at the bottom end of the track, and David Franchik is going to get right in his slipstream there. Tuck out to the outside. Will he be able to go around the outside? Not there. Oh, actually, he's going to stick with him, and he's going to have the inside for turn 2, which is going to be the outside for turn 3. Slight contact there, and that's going to allow Liam Duval to go through. Whoa, Zupanek has a big kick of oversteer and almost goes straight into Liam Duval, but Liam Duval gets both of them. Franchik hits him. Franchik hits him through the through turn 4 at the bottom end of the track. It looks to me like Zupanek is really struggling with his tyres, and that was so close to being a big accident there, as Franchik just misjudged the speed of Bruce Zupanek ahead of him, and that could have been very dangerous indeed. There is Lucas Euler going a bit wide in 11th, and this battle for 10th is not ceasing anytime soon, although I want to switch to the front of the order to check if anyone's pitting this time round. None of the leaders, so these These guys making their tyres last a lot longer than I thought they would, unless they pitted without me noticing. But whatever the case, the order is still as it was before. There is Garibaldi, who is now ahead of Jarl Tyne, so those teammates have swapped positions again, and indeed has Tyne. Yeah, Tyne. Oh, never mind. Tyne was on the super softs anyway, wasn't he? Yeah. I was going to say that Tyne's pitted again, but no, he hasn't recently. This is Tobias Olsen now on the back of David Fidok, and I think that means that Fidok just got past him. So, unless that happened earlier on in the race and I didn't see it, but whatever the case, that battle's looking relatively close. Bruce Superneck has just been into the pits, and he's going to come out behind a back marker in 13th place. So there he goes. Alex Cooper, I think, has also just pitted. There is Stefan Ruhr. And yeah, no more retirement since the last time I looked, so that's good. Rudy Van Buren now has the length of the straight to Risto Capit. So that change, or that position rather, has really extended now, as Risto Capit drops back further from his Vodball teammate, although it is still a commanding Vodball 1-2. Florian Geyer, the best of the rest so far. Now, who is the closest battle close to the front of the field? I want to still keep an eye on the leaders to check when they come into the pits, because I'm sure they're overdue a pit stop. I'm actually increasingly convinced that I missed a pit stop from Van Buren and Capit. They probably both pitted before Geyer did last time, because Geyer's right back on Capit. So I'm going to say that Capit and Van Buren have now made 2 pit stops, and I only saw one of them. I apologise for the Discord notifications in the background. They're mine, not yours. I did close Discord, but it sounds as if you need to kind of do more than just close it to make it be quiet. Whatever the case. Oh my goodness, Florian Geyer actually ran very wide out of turn 3 there, right over the grass. Did a good thing waiting to get back onto the track rather than doing it too soon and possibly losing the rear end. You need to give the car a while to settle itself on a brief off like that, but not too much time lost for Florian Geyer there. Tobias Olsen is in the pits. He's going on to another set of super softs, as I expect will most of the pit stoppers at this time of the race. David Franchik is doing the same thing, as will be Alex Cooper. Now, where's everyone there going to come out? So, Tobias Olsen is going to come out in 10th position. Bruce Superneck will be 11th. Who's the next of the people coming out of the pits? David Franchik will come out in 14th, just behind Chris Shepherd. And Alex Cooper is going to come out in 15th. So that's that order so far. Cooper actually getting very close to being lapped there. You could see Rudy Van Buren in the background. Now here is Rudy Van Buren. You won't be able to see his teammate in any of these shots for a very long time, I can imagine, because Van Buren is right out the front, just making sure that he keeps his nose clean, gets past the backmarker traffic without any issues, and brings it home. With 27 laps into the race now. There is his teammate Risto Capit, who appears to be dropping back into the hands of Florian Geyer now. So Geyer getting closer and closer on the back of Risto Capit. I don't have any way of telling what the gap is, because as I will demonstrate now, this thing here on the right is not working in terms of the gap or in terms of the laps. So I have no way of telling what lap we're on apart from down here, or indeed what the gap between two drivers is. Although I tell you what, this I estimate the gap here is about 0.3 of a second. So will Gaia be able to challenge out of turn 3 into turn 4? He's certainly in the slipstream. He's going to pull out of the slipstream now. Capit goes to the inside to defend. Does a good job of breaking the toe. But Gaia is going to go right around the outside of him into second position. And that's going to stick. So Florian Gaia is up into second position in this Super League race so far. And Florian Gaia is in a very good position here in this race so far. I often say that if you can finish second, you can finish first, so all it takes now is for one mistake, or one big mistake rather, from Rudy Van Buren, and Gaia is in a commanding position in the race. Of course, I keep my fingers crossed that there is no big issue, but this is racing, anything can happen. Now, when will the next pit stop be? So if they pitted around... Oh, now. Okay, so into the pits comes Florian Gaia. In comes Risto Capit. Rudy Van Buren has stayed out this time round. So let's see what the next tyre strategy is. Now, there's no way that these two didn't pit before when I wasn't looking, because they would have stayed out longer than Yaltayan did on the soft tyre. And these two are going for another set of super softs, as I expected they would. I expect it's going to be a 4-stop race, so that was the... Actually, I tell you what, looking at the lap time, 4-stop is absolutely unachievable. I don't know what I was talking about at the start. Obviously, the tyres go off a lot quicker than I thought they would, because we're only on lap 29 out of 71. But Gaia has come out in third place, Gergo Boldi being the car that's moved up there. And Risto Capit has come out in fourth. Look at where Fidok is as well. He's already up into fifth, past Yaltayan. That is impressive from David Fidok. Now, will Rudy Van Buren pit this time round? He does indeed. So our leader is in. Gergo Boldi, I presume, will also be in this time round, or next time round. And I presume it'll be the super softs again for Rudy Van Buren. It would be very unusual if it wasn't. Indeed, no dramatic tyre strategy going on there. Although I tell you what, Gergo Boldi did indeed stay out on that time round. So Boldi is going to inherit the lead of the race, is he? No, I think actually Rudy Van Buren had enough of a buffer to actually stay in the lead of the race here. It wasn't actually as close as I thought it was going to be. So Gergo Boldi still second, although hasn't stopped yet. And Rudy Van Buren had enough of a gap to pit and still come out in the lead. Now, Boldi is probably going to pit this time round. Of course, he's effectively, we predict, fourth position. So I'm going to look and see where he comes out of the pits now. When he does come out of the pits indeed. Slight kick of oversteer there. There is Florian Gaia and Risto Capit. David Fidok running fifth. And looking further through the order, it will be... Oh, Sergei Eris is just pitted. And actually, we've lost Lucas Euler. So, and actually very recently, according to the sector time. So I'm going to quickly rewind that and see just what happened here. So I've rewinded it a bit too far. Oh, it's happened down at turn 3. Oh my goodness, this has been a big one. He was fighting with David Franchik. Franchik has... This was for 12th position, so Franchik has gone for 12th position around the outside. He's going to have the inside for turn 2, and then... Oh, they actually banged wheels even then. And then the outside again for turn 3. Oh, dear. And that is an absolutely massive one for Lucas Euler. It looks as if Euler just misjudged the distance between his nose and Franchik's rear. Of course, you can't see your nose from inside the car, and that has been a huge crash for Lucas Euler, and that is very much his day done. Has David Franchik got away with it? He has indeed. So unfortunately, that has been the end of the day. If I just rewind to where I left off, it was 1 minute 35 into the sector, so about now. So that will unfortunately be very much the end of the day from Lucas Euler, with an absolutely massive crash, I must say. Here is the leader then, Rudy Van Buren. The gap is the length of that entire 1, 2, 3 complex. And I expect it'll be over the length of the straight now, because the length of the straight when it was captured in second, actually it's actually come down slightly, but I expect that'll only be by about half a second in what was possibly about 7 or 8 second lead. So that's not going to be dramatic at all. I'm actually going to count the lead when the next checkpoint, or actually here's a good place. 1 elephant, 2 elephant, 3 elephant, 4 elephant, 5 elephant, 6 elephant. It was indeed about 6 seconds. So, if you excuse my counting method there. So, indeed, Florian Gaia about 6 seconds off Rudy Van Buren there. That's the more primitive method of counting the gap between two cars, of course, when you haven't got one of these working. Of course, back in the olden days, as we call it, probably the 70s and beforehand, they timed even series as high as Formula 1 laps and gaps with a stopwatch. So that led to some controversy sometimes. There was definitely a real way to cheat. And I remember hearing stories of when Vittorio Brambilla got his only pole position in 1975 at the Austrian Grand Prix, I think it was. When everyone said what a fantastic lap it was, and yet probably his mechanic wasn't quite accurate on the stopwatch, not taking any credit away from Vittorio Brambilla that weekend, because he was definitely very quick. Not that I was there to see it. Anyway, this battle for fourth is hotting up now between Fidok, Baldy and Tyan. Tyan, of course, is on a completely different strategy to these two, but and is probably effectively a long way down the order. Now, so Baldy's actually already pulled out of the slipstream of David Fidok here, and that's because Fidok has lifted off to be able to pit. So Fidok locks up as he enters the pit lane here on the 32nd, going on to the 33rd lap of the race. And we'll see where he comes out. He was running about 5th position, effectively either 5th or 6th. I'm not entirely sure who's effectively 5th yet out of him or Jarl Tyan. But whatever the case, he's going to actually come out in about 7th position. So that's also behind Fran Lopez, who's been very quietly making his way around. Of course, Lopez was involved in the opening incident on the first lap, and whether he was to blame or not, you decide. I think that he certainly moved over very aggressively, but we'll have to see if there's any disciplinary action taken there. Now, Capit is actually close enough to Gaia again to get the DRS, so we'll have to keep an eye on that little battle there. We saw the DRS flap on the rear wing of Risto Capit's car open as they came down the start-finish straight that time round. That means that, as well as the slipstream which you automatically get from the car ahead of you, he would also have had reduced drag from the rear wing opening as well. So that would have been a bit of overkill in terms of catch-up. Possibly loses it in the corners a bit, because it's very hard to follow the car ahead of you when you have this much aero on the front wing and the rear wing, but on straights it definitely is an advantage to be this close to the car ahead of you. And of course, if he does want to go for a move, the closer the better. Seems to be biding his time for now. Of course, you can't go for an absolute dive bomb from this far back and expect it to work. You look at the DRS open again. It takes a mature driver to hang back for for a long time and not go for a silly move. But Risto Capit is not renowned for his accidents, so that's good for this little race here. So after the, was it the third pit stop stage or the fourth? I think it was the third there. Yeah, it was the third. It's Rudy Van Buren still leading from Florian Gaia, Risto Capit, Gergo Baldi, Jarl Tyen, David Fidok, Fran Lopez, who is into the pit and actually switching onto a softer compound. So he's going for a longer stint here. Tobias Olsen and Thomas Hinz also in. Will they do the same thing? No, Olsen is... Okay, they're both staying on the Supersoft, and Hinz actually had a quicker stop than Olsen there and almost drew alongside him there in the pits. Alex Cooper and David Franchik also pitted for Supersofts. So this is the kind of split strategy stage in the race that I was... Whoa, big slide from Chris Shepherd there. That I was talking about earlier, where all of the drivers will presumably start the race on a similar strategy because a lot of them start on the same sort of tyre, but then towards the end of the race people start going for alternative strategies, trying to undercut the car ahead of them and jump the car behind them as well. So that's what's presumably happening here, as we see Fran Lopez on the soft tyres and everyone else on the super soft. So if I keep going down the order, we have a good battle here between Franchik and Cooper. These two have been recently lapped by Rudy Van Buren, who you just see up ahead of them, but Cooper's going to be in the slipstream here. This is for 12th position in the race. Let's see what Cooper can do about Franchik this time around, as Cooper goes to the inside of the final corner and of turn 1. He's going to outbrake Franchik, and through he goes. So Alex Cooper is now up into 12th position, but we have another long slipstreaming straight to come up, although Cooper does a good job of pulling out of the toe initially, and that's going to allow Cooper to stay ahead for now. Chris Shepherd is running 14th, followed by Liam Duval, who I believe, judging by what I heard earlier in this race, yeah, you can see there he's actually got quite bad suspension damage there. I saw him stopped in the pits a few laps ago and thought and wondered whether he did, but that would presumably have been picked up in the incident on the first lap, and who knows what kind of pace he'd have if that hadn't have happened. Stefan Rualt, meanwhile, is on the Ultrasoft, so Rualt pushing while others conserve, and that could potentially be a very good idea from Stefan Rualt. We'll see if he can get himself into the points. He's been newly lapped by Risto Capit, who's just ahead of him, and actually, if Rualt's quick enough on those Ultrasofts, Capit will have to be careful of possibly being passed back here. So we'll see what Rualt can do down into turn 1. He's too far back for now. Of course, this isn't for position, but we saw Liam Duval going for a move on someone, or on two people rather, earlier in this race, despite the fact he was a lap down on them. So it wouldn't be unheard of in this series. 17th is Michael Galka, followed by Matthew Marquard, Lucas Euler, Gerrit de Vries, Nick Rowland and Ben Horrell, who are already out of this race. So, unfortunately for them, we have lost 4 cars, meaning 18 are remaining. To be honest, if we continue at this rate, we might end up with many point scorers, possibly one or no cars finishing outside of the points, and that wouldn't be the first time we've seen that. Here is Jarl Tyen rather, still on his alternative strategy to everyone else, running at a similar pace to his teammate actually, despite the fact he just had a bit of a lock-up there. Of course, in this middle stint he'll be of a similar pace to everyone else, because pretty much everyone is running the super soft tyres. I mean, Rualt of course is on the ultra soft, and Lopez is on the soft. And there is Fran Lopez, in fact, on the softer compound of tyre. So a bit of a mix of strategies going on here, but the majority of cars, as you can see, still on the red-walled super soft. The battle between Franchik, Cooper, and Zupanek still raging. Actually, Zupanek a bit of a way ahead of this group, and they've just been split by Rudy Van Buren anyway. So Van Buren making his way through the field, having done a whole lap more than them now. Although I tell you what, this is going to really aid Alex Cooper now, who's going to have the slipstream and the DRS off Rudy Van Buren's car, and that's going to hopefully, or he will hope, pull him ahead of David Franchik, or further ahead of David Franchik, I should say, because he's already ahead of David Franchik. Of course, that's just how everyone affects everyone else's race. I mean, I remember seeing a race at Brands Hatch a while ago where a driver who was not expected to do very well in the weekend at all managed to get the toe off two other cars in his qualifying lap and ended up right up the front of the order. And that's not unheard of, and even in the race, of course, backmarkers races can, or not backmarkers rather, I mean, none of these guys, I mean, I should really point out that Alex Cooper is a very quick driver, so not entirely a backmarker, and of course he's running 12 out of 18 cars, so that's not bad, but slower cars than the leaders, we should say, as talking of the leaders, into the pits comes Rudy Van Buren. Everyone affects each other's races in some way or another. Anyway, into the pits comes Rudy Van Buren, locks up, as we see pretty much everyone doing. It's going to be another stint on the super soft tyre, and that is his fourth stop. So we still have 30 laps to go. I estimate we'll end up with about 6 or 7 pit stops in this race. Into the pits as well came Florian Gaia. He's going for another stint on the super softs as well. And Risto Capit is up into third as a result. So, actually, Baldy is ahead of Capit now. So, has Capit... I believe that Capit must have pitted that time round there. So, Capit probably got rather close to Van Buren in the pits there. And I'm wondering whether they had to stack the two cars. I hope they didn't, because that would have definitely cost Capit. And Capit is now dropped behind Baldy. But, of course, Baldy appears to have kind of set his strategy to a few laps later than everyone else. He's probably the latest to pit in every pit cycle now, so Baldy probably one to look out for later on in the race, because at the end he will have the shortest final stint and therefore the fresher tyres at the finish. Although for now Risto Capit is going to use the slipstream to possibly get past him down into turn 1. This is going to be pretty easy. Oh, I say that, but Baldy is still alongside him, and in fact they almost lock wheels down into turn 1 there, but Capit does indeed get around him. So Capit up into second position now. Oh, as Baldy runs very wide on the exit, although gets right back into the slipstream. Actually uses the DRS and almost pulls out of it. He actually thought about coming back at Risto Capit there, but thought better of it. He knows that they're not in the same race here. Then again, I tell you what, effectively Baldy's probably fourth in the order and Capit is second. So Baldy definitely not out of contention for a podium yet. Of course, there's 3 people ahead of him, so if any one of them has some kind of issue, then he could inherit a podium. Florian Gaia now has to get past him as well. So Gaia came out behind Tyan, of course. Not Tyan, rather, Baldy, who is going to pit now. So that is going to be significantly easier for Florian Gaia than it was for Risto Capit, taking the easy way of passing Baldy as Baldy pits. And now Gaia has Capit in his sights again, and I think that gap might have come down slightly. So Capit, of course, is ahead of him, isn't he? Has Gaia... Okay, so Gaia pitted recently. Gaia was ahead of Capit earlier in the race. I don't know why I didn't spot this sooner, actually, because Capit is now back ahead of Florian Gaia. That must mean that Capit hasn't pitted on this cycle yet. Either that or he has legitimately got back past Florian Gaia. I honestly can't see... Oh, as he bounces around a bit. Now, will Capit pit this time round or won't he? Well, why... If he hadn't pitted, then why would he have been behind Baldy? That doesn't make any sense. So Risto Capit somehow has got back ahead of Florian Gaia on the road, and I just didn't see it. I said that gap was coming down earlier, but for some reason it's changed and I didn't notice, so I apologise about that. That's an embarrassing commentary mistake, but whatever's happened, Risto Capit is now second and Florian Gaia is third, so Vodball are back to having their 1-2. Of course, that might well have happened just under strategy. It might have been that Capit was able to take advantage of the time he had on the road in clean air and then just undercut or overcut Florian Gaia. To be honest, that's probably the most likely option, because otherwise I probably would have spotted an overtake. So I think that that must have been what happened. As there is Gergo Baldy after his pit stop rather. Jarl Tyen running 5th, followed by a close battle as David Fidok has made his way past Fran Lopez. So those two have changed. Fidok was of course behind Lopez earlier on in the race, and I believe behind his teammate as well. That's Tobias Olsen just returning from the pits behind Rudy Van Buren, who's just lapped him. But whatever the case, David Fidok now up into 6th position. So Fidok up into 6th, Fran Lopez down into 7th, and that will be partially because of the alternative strategy that Lopez is taking on the soft tyres in this stint. Although he's pitting now, locking up dramatically as we've seen a lot of drivers doing. Of course, they all want to they all want to brake as late as they can, entering the pit lane for the speed limiter. And he is now going on to some super soft rubber. So Fran Lopez on a set of super softs, and he is going to come out just behind Thomas Hinz. Ooh, bit of lag. In 8th position. There is Tobias Olsen in 9th, followed by Sergei Harris, who I'm pretty sure was ahead of Olsen earlier on, so that's changed. Alex Cooper, Bruce Supanek, David Franchik, Chris Shepherd. The final points paying position at the moment, Liam DeVault with his horribly hanging suspension. Mikkel Galker, rather, Stefan Ruhr, Matthew Marquard, and then the retirements. Now, these two closing up again, so Florian Gaia closer to Risto Capit than he was. Definitely returning to the gearbox of Risto Capit's car. Closing, and we'll just have to see where he can get properly under the gearbox of Capit's car. He seems to be a bit quicker through the kind of twistier section of the course, because it's definitely catching him at this part of the course now. But he doesn't seem to be getting close enough on the straights. And that's often very difficult in terms of overtaking, because of course, I often say that, especially on a track with long straights, it's better to have a car that's faster in a straight line but worse in corners than faster in corners and not very good in a straight line, because it's easier to overtake in a straight line than round a corner. And that's why, if I bring the example to something absurd that not many of you will have seen, the Radical European Masters. As Gaia has a bit of a kick of oversteer. The SR3s are faster in the corners but slower in a straight line, and the SR8s are slower in the corners but faster in a straight line, and the SR8s very usually win. But of course, not so much of a difference between these cars, of course, because they are all very similar. They're not exactly different types of cars. I believe that the actual chassis of the cars is the same. Of course, they have different engines behind them, and they're allowed to upgrade the cars as they wish and set them up differently, of course. And that's why the Vodball's been so dominant this year, because there's a tremendous amount of mechanical knowledge behind that team, and that's really really helped them. But Florian Gaia definitely getting closer and closer to the rear of Risto Capit's car here. Now, will he be able to get the slipstream here? He's got the DRS open. Of course, I'm not expecting him to go for a move just yet because he's a long way back. But he looked like he was getting closer to Risto Capit, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Whoa, big slide there from Tobias Olsen, rally styling it through the centre S's, as we've seen a couple of people doing so far this race. But Tobias Olsen, I believe, just did the biggest one of the lot, and that's not going to help his tyres. As look at that camera view, that's a weird one. This is the wow, I haven't discovered this one yet. This is helicopter camera or something. You can see so much of the track from here. My goodness. Anyway, back to the normal camera views. The two orange liveried cars are closing up on each other as well behind Tobias Olsen, Lopez and Jerez. And I just saw someone coming out of the pits as well. This is a battle that's... all three of these are in a battle. So Franchik and Zupanek are legitimately side by side here. This isn't a lappery. And Franchik's going to get past Zupanek as Zupanek makes a slight mistake out of turn 2. And Franchik is going to keep that through turn 4. But Zupanek is going to have another look at him on the exit. Will he go around the outside of turn 5? That's very, very rare. And he's going to run right over the grass. Right out over the grass and keeps it out of the wall. But he's lost another place to Thomas Hintz. And rather than moving up into 11th place, Bruce Zupanek is down into 13th. Slightly shooting himself in the foot there. You'll notice that different tyre strategies going on between this group here. David Franchik is on the Ultra Softs. Thomas Hintz is on the Super Softs, and as we have a little bit of a slide, Bruce Zupanek is also on the Super Soft compound. Theoretically, the Ultra Soft tyre is the fastest of these tyres, but with the slipstream, that's not going to be any help at all. Although I tell you what, Thomas Hintz wasn't quite close enough that time around. Although Franchik taking a very different line to Hintz, as Hintz tries to get the switchback out of turns 1, 2 and then 3, and he might well do it on the extra 3 as he gets back into the slipstream. Actually, probably should have got more into the slipstream than he did, but Franchik's gone wide and he's going to get another good switchback to get right past him into the second apex of turn 4. So Franchik loses the place to Thomas Hintz, who moves up into 11th position. Now, up the front of the order, we have Risto Capit side by side with Gergo Baldi. So I presume that Capit just pitted, and this is not effectively for position, but just on the track. And Capit's not going to like this because they are on different strategies, and Baldi is holding him up a bit, as Baldi is entitled to do, because they are running different races here. But that is going to hamper Capit a bit. And actually, if Florian Gaia takes advantage of this as he pits now, it'll be interesting to see where he comes out. Rudy Van Buren is staying out for a lap longer. And into the pits does come Florian Gaia, as well does David Franchik from 11th place. and Gaia is going to be going on to another set of super softs. So not quite the final stint yet. The final stint, I presume, will be made on, well, either ultra softs or super softs. Well, it won't be the final stint yet. We've still got 20 laps to go, and we've seen that these tyres don't tend to last for 20 laps. I tell you what, y'all... Actually, that's Gergo Baldy. So Baldy is now legitimately... Actually, has Baldy pitted yet? Well, Capit's got past him. Whoa, as we get 3 back markers side by side there. Oh, and Baldy's off. Baldy runs wide on the exit of the corner and loses the place to Florian Gaia. Now, Baldy, I presume, has not pitted yet because he wasn't this close to the rest of the group before. But Capit has really been held up by Gergo Baldy there and has dropped back further into the clutches of Florian Gaia. Into the pits has come Rudy Van Buren, who has switched onto the super soft tyre, and Van Buren, we predict, will come out in the lead of the race comfortably, as he has done every pit stop of the race so far, just ahead of Michael Galke, who is of course 2 or 3 laps down by now. This is second and third place, both on the same corner, but not actually as close as it looked. Maybe that was just the camera shot before that was messing it up a bit. Zupanek has come out just ahead of David Franchik. These two are actually really close now, so as they were before they pitted. So these two have been inseparable, or however you say it, so far in the race, with the fascinating fish scale livery on David Franchik's car. Quite an unusual livery. You don't tend to see nautical themed liveries on cars, but anyway, I quite like it actually. Makes me hungry, really, for a good bit of mackerel. Oh yeah. Anyway, he's back into the... Actually, he's not back into the slipstream as Zupanek, is he? Because Zupanek has got the slipstream and the DRS of Florian Gaia ahead of him, and has actually pulled away from David Franchik in that sector, and Franchik is coming under attack from Thomas Hinz. On the ultra soft tyre now is Thomas Hinz, so so Hinz will presumably be quicker through the corners than David Franchik, and presumably quicker over a lap time as well. And we'll see what he can do about actually catching David Franchik later on in the race. Still plenty of time to go. We have approximately, well, the leaders will be on lap 53 by now, so it'll be approximately 18 laps to go. About one or two more pit stops. Possibly one if you can make the final stint last, but not if you go onto ultra softs. Some guys might deliberately do 2 more stops just so they can use the ultra softs at the end if they feel that's going to be quicker. Although it tends to be that you make up more time in the pits than you do on the track. So I'd say that 1 stop from now would be the ideal strategy. And to be honest, if you can make this stint last, you can probably go to the end on ultra softs. So that will be the presumably what happens now, as Jarl Tyen is into the pits from what was 5th position. Of course, it's very hard to actually figure out where Jarl Tyen is running in the effective order, because of course Tyen has used a very different strategy to the others, and he is on ultra softs now, and with 17 laps to go in the race, he's not going to be able to make that last. He's probably going to... I'd say Tyen can probably do 2 more stints on the ultra soft. So if Tyen does this stint and next stint on the ultra soft, he will presumably be able to make it to the end of the race from there. David Fidok is up into 5th now, and whether he's 5th or not effectively, I'm not entirely sure. I've lost count of how many stops they've actually done. I think the leader, Rudy Van Buren, just did his 5th stop. That sounds about right. So Van Buren, we presume, has 1 more stop to do if he makes this stint last. The Ultrasoft can probably do 10 laps if you make it last. And Van Buren, we've seen, has been very good with his tyres so far. He seems to really have good control over his strategy. We've seen a couple of times in this race Capit and Gaia pitting later than him and sometimes pitting earlier than him, which is a mark of a good driver in Van Buren, because it means that he's got a lot of control over his strategy, pitting as late or as early as he dares. As a bit of a lock-up there from Risto Capit. He's not being put under too much pressure from Florian Gaia at the moment, but of course, well, any car in your mirrors is intimidating. Even a backmarker sometimes, even if there's just the slightest chance that they'll have a slight snatch of the brakes or spin behind you or even a brake failure, you could technically be in danger, but of course danger is racing. Less so in sim racing, because it is, well, of course it's pretty much impossible to injure yourself when the car doesn't even exist. I mean, I say that, but sometimes it is quite painful when your steering wheel snaps around in times of accident or spin. Especially if you have your force feedback setting too high. But whatever the case, it looks to me as if Jarl Tyne and Gergo Baldi are on a similar strategy to the end of the race now. So Baldi is already on the the Ultrasoft tyre rather. Now these two will presumably be able to do the rest of the race on one more stop. I'm not entirely sure how long Baldi has been on the Ultrasoft tyre for. I didn't see his last pit stop, as Sergi Heras pits from 7th position. He is coming in on the super soft tyre. Now, will he go for one long stint on the super soft tyre and then a dash to the end on the ultra soft, or will he feel that he's going to make one more stop anyway, so he might as well go onto the ultra soft now? No, he doesn't. To be honest, I think that from this stage in the race, you probably should be on the ultra soft, because the super soft is not going to. Actually, I tell you what, 15 laps to go. You could just about make it to the end on the Supersoft, so I think that's what Sergi Heras is going to be doing. He's going to be trying to make it to the end of the race on the Supersoft compound. And Liam Duval, actually I think he's been on those soft tyres for a while, so I don't think he's going to be making it to the end on those Supersoft tyres, as Michael Gauke gets lapped by David Feidock there. Chris Shepherd returning from the pits in 17th position behind Matthew Marquardt. Shepherd's actually dropped a long way down the order from where he last was. I mean, he's a long way behind. To be honest, he's actually a lap. Is he? No, he's on the lap before. So he's dropped miles back from where I last saw him. And I don't know what happened to Shepherd there. He must have had some kind of big spin or incident, possibly pitted as a result of maybe a lost front wing or something like that. And I'm afraid we have lost Stefan Rouen. If I just check. Okay, so that's at 4:48. I'm going to check what happened to Rouen. It looks like it happened a while ago, actually, and I didn't quite see what happened. But if I just fast forward through the order here. He's actually gone onto the grass to avoid the leaders there. Very sensible. Has he just pulled into the pits and retired it? Oh, he did. Okay, so he just pulled straight into his garage and retired the car, unfortunately, and that is him out of this race. Oh, and now I might also be able to find out what happened to Chris Shepherd here. So he's 14th at this point. Now, what happens? Oh, he actually went back into his garage. So Shepherd is cornering normally here, a bit faster than normal because I've sped it up. But he's doing it fine here, and then it doesn't look to me like he has any kind of accident. He's just going to. He doesn't pull into the pits. He just. What happens here? I think I might have put it back a bit too far, actually. I'm going to use this thing. Yeah, he's just pulled over to the side of the track down the straight heading to turn 4 here. So he pulls over. He's in his pit garage, and now somehow he's going to return to the race. So if I just get it back to where I left off, it was at 4:48 there. So somehow, despite the fact he pulled into his garage, Chris Shepherd has returned to the race, and I didn't know that you were actually allowed to do that, and I don't see what the point of doing that would be. Well, not returning to the race. I mean, any track time's definitely beneficial, but I mean, why did he pull over in the first place? I'm confused. I'll have to speak to Chris after the race and see what happened there. The gap per second appears to have come out a bit. As you see, the two almost SMP livery-esque cars of Gergo Baldi and Jarl Tyen. What team's that? Their name escapes me briefly. Waters Automotive. So, Waters Automotive are currently 4th and 5th. It's a good placing in the order so far, but not as good as 1st and 2nd here from the Vodballs. And also, I tell you what, we have the two Nordstjoen cars 3rd and 6th as well. So good running from these two, and the top 6 all have a teammate in the top 6 as well. So definitely a very clear 1, 2 and 3 at the front of the order there in terms of teams. Well, I tell you what, the Waters and the Nordstjoen, you can't really tell who the quicker of those two is at the moment, with 3rd and 6th basically sandwiching 4th and 5th. And I'm not quite sure what the Constructors' Championship looks like at the moment. I presume that that Vodbull are leading it, as these two are getting close again. So Florian Geyer catching back up to Risto Capit here. Now, all of these guys up the front of the field will be due one more pit stop towards the end of the race, and they will presumably be trying to make that as early as they can, but within the ultra-soft range, just so they can do the most time on the ultra-soft without the tyres getting shredded. I'd say probably pitting 8 laps from the end is about right. If I was driving in this, then I'd probably pit about 8 laps to the end, as Geyer actually looks to the outside using the slipstream there down into turn 5. He's spun it! So Geyer, he's hit the wall as well, but he's kept his wing. He stopped right in the middle of the track there. Luckily, there is no one behind him, but Geyer just overcooked it. It was too eager with the throttle out of turn 4 there, the first apex of turn 4, as he pulled alongside Risto Capit, just overcooked it, spun it into the wall. Luckily, his front wing did not come off and he did not get collected, so everything appears to be fine there. But look at the flat spots on his tyres. He might well have just taken the last out of those tyres. Also, I think someone else went off down at that part of the circuit as well. David Franchik, was it? Might well have been. Anyway, into the pits comes, I think that was one of the Vodballs actually, if I go up the order. Oh yeah, so Geyer and Capit now into the pits. Geyer, of course, because of those massive flat spots on his tyres, and Capit in generally. Going on to some super softs. To be honest, these two are probably pitting too early to go onto the ultra softs for the end. It would be a real risk if they did. About 10 laps to go now. I think the ultra softs could technically last that long, but it would be very close at the end. Actually, it is. No, I thought that guy was on the ultra soft briefly there, but he wasn't. Tyen and Baldy are, although these two are both due one more pit stop. So if these two can get a big enough advantage with the ultra soft tyres they've got on now before their pit stop, and then make another one for a new set of ultra softs, they could potentially jump Gaia, but I fear that Gaia is probably too close to them in terms of the actual track position to jump them, or to let them jump him, really. And I think that the order there is going to stay relatively the same, but it does mean that Florian Gaia definitely needs to push now. Of course, Gaia and Capit will not be due one more pit stop, because these two can easily go to the end on these super soft tyres, providing they don't have any big spins and take the life out of their tyres. Now, judging by the gap that Van Buren still got, I don't think he pitted on that lap, so Rudy Van Buren will probably pit on this lap now. Let's see if he does. Locks up slightly. He's going to be attempting to try and make this stint last long enough to allow him to go onto the ultra soft tyre, and he's pitting this lap. So into the pits comes Rudy Van Buren. Will it be the ultra softs? He'll have to do 8 laps, so I think actually this is doable. I think if he goes onto the ultra soft now, he'll have the optimum tyre for the rest of the race. He should do that. Let's see if he does. Yes, indeed he does. So Rudy Van Buren will be on the ultra soft tyre until the end of this race. Risto Capit will be on the super soft, and Florian Gaia will be on the super soft, as Gaia is just behind. Is that Zupanek or Ruhr? I think it's Zupanek. Actually, Ruhr's out of the race, isn't he? So yeah, it would have to be Zupanek. And Gergo Baldi is into the pits now. So Baldi presumably will also switch on to super softs or ultra softs rather, and go to the end of the race. More ultra softs rather, because he was already on ultra softs. Jarl Tyen stayed out. He can probably afford to stay out as long as he wants on this set of ultra softs. And indeed, Baldi goes on to another set of ultra softs here. So Gergo Baldi now on the ultra soft compound, returning from the pits. There is Sergei Heras in 7th. The next driver to pit, of course, the next significant driver to pit will be Jarl Tyen. Jarl Tyen, of course, on the ultra softs at the moment, but it'll all be down to when the next time he can pit on the ultra softs is. He's actually just been passed by Bruce Zupanek, who is a lap down on the super soft. So that indicates that Jarl Tyen has probably bitten too much out of his tyres already. And we'll see if he pits this time round. I presume he will. Indeed he does. Yes, so Jarl Tyen pits this time round. He will be going on to one last into super softs. Into the pits as well comes David Fidok. So there's going to be a sprint to the finish for 5th position between Tyen and Fidok. This is going to be an interesting one to watch actually, because Tyen and Fidok have been, I think Fidok's actually been quicker on pace than Tyen this time so far this race. Of course, started right from the back of the order and has made his way, done very well to make his way up to 6th position. But he'll be wanting 5th, of course. 5th place only worth 2 more points than 6th place is, but those 2 points, or at least I think it's 2 points. It's 2 points in the FIA. Actually, don't take my word on that at all. I don't entirely know, but anyway, these two, 5th and 6th at the moment. Gergo Baldi will be 4th. Florian Gaia is 3rd, and then it's Capit and Van Buren leading the race. Van Buren leading it by now the length of the straight and the 1-2-3 complex. So Van Buren has an absolutely commanding lead in this race so far. And it would take an absolute miracle for Rudy Van Buren not to bring it home in the lead now. And fingers crossed there's no sort of accident there. I want everyone to have as clean a race as they possibly can have. Also, it helps for Rudy that he is on a faster compound than the cars in 2nd and 3rd. Capit is on the super soft, as is Gaia. And then Baldi, Tyen and Fidok will all be on the ultra soft rubber. There is Fran Lopez in 7th, Sergi Heras in 8th, Alex Cooper in 9th, Thomas Hintz in 10th, Tobias Olsen in 11th, Bruce Superneck in 12th, David Franchik in 13th, followed by Liam Duval, Matthew Marquardt, who actually runs very, very wide and off at turn 4, but is in the in the points now, Mikkel Galke, and of course our retirements so far this race. There is Rudy Van Buren making his way past Mikkel Galke, and he does it with ease. Galke putting 2 wheels onto the grass to avoid him. I think I'm going to spectate the race for 5th after I've just checked down through the order for any other closer battles, because 5th and 6th definitely appear to be getting closer. Fidot looking quick, Tyne also looking quick, but maybe not quite to the same extent. And Fidot will have the added slipstream as well, so we'll see if Fidot can challenge towards the end of this race. It looks to me as if Jarl Tyne's alternative strategy that he adopted has actually worked at a very similar pace to the other strategy, because Tyne started about here in relation to his teammate Gergo Baldi at the start of the race, though on a different strategy. Although, for me, the driver of the day so far has either been David Fidok fighting his way up from the back, or Rudy Van Buren, who has dominated the race from the start and never looked back. We've had good drives as well from Risto Capit, Florian Gaia, Gergo Baldi, plenty of drivers. But these two here, David Fidok and Rudy Van Buren, have been absolutely shone in this race. And Fidok, I predict, or not predict, but I estimate, has pulled in the gap by about 3/10 in that last lap. Can I check here? No, of course I can't. Ugh. Anyway, through the Senate S's they go. Lap 67. Now, I don't know whether that's that we've completed 67 laps or whether we're on lap 67. So I don't know whether the final lap will be when that says lap 60 or 71 or 70. I'll have to keep an eye on that. I think I'll start spectating Rudy Van Buren at about on lap 70 just in case, so that I don't miss the finish of the race. But onto what it says is lap 68. And it's still tying ahead of Fidok, but I believe the gap's come down again. Certainly looks closer, and Fidok has got more of a slipstream than he did before. I didn't see the DRS opening then, so I don't think he's quite within a second of Jarl Tyne. Actually has a bit of a kick of oversteer there through turn 4. I'm not entirely sure whether he's within a second of Jarl Tyne or not, but he's certainly close to him. I hope you don't mind that I'm keeping the overlay up here, because I want to see. I don't want to completely forget about the time and miss when we're on the final lap here. I want to keep seeing how much of the race we have left. We're going to go on to lap 69 now, because 69 comes after 68, of course. And it's still Tyne ahead of Fidok. Fidok will definitely... Oh, Tyne's off! Tyne actually nudges into the wall with his rear end at turn 1 there. He seemed to just get onto the grass on the entry to the corner, lose control of it, and did very, very well not to have an accident there. And Jarl Tyne, I'm afraid, has really, really lost out there by his own doing. I'm quickly going to go on board with him to check if he has any sort of suspension damage. It doesn't look like it. The The steering is still perfectly straight from what I can see. And Jarl, unfortunately for him, has just lost 5th position to David Fidok, who has been an absolute star in this race so far. Jarl rounding the bottom end of the course. Oh no, never mind. He didn't just go off there. That was just lag. That's happened a few times in this race so far. That's one of the bad things about doing sim racing. You never quite know where anything is for absolute certain. There are always minor glitches. Oh, Tyan's pitting. So Tyan obviously thinks that that's bitten a lot out of his tyre life there, and he's having to go for another pit stop. Where is Fran Lopez in? Okay, so Lopez is not going to be close enough to challenge him here. But I'm going to spectate Rudy Van Buren, because Van Buren might well be coming around the final corner of the race here. This is either the final lap or the penultimate one. Rudy Van Buren, does he win it this time round? Do I even have a way of checking? I have no idea. It looks to me like he's still pushing, so I'm going to say that he's still pushing. I'm going to go on board with Risto Capit to see if I can spot a checkered flag up on the flag post. We do tend to be going rather fast around this sector. I didn't see a checkered flag, and indeed Van Buren does appear to still be pushing. So I'm going to say we're on to the final lap now, and the race hasn't already finished, which is good. The order is Van Buren, Capit, Gaia, Baldy, Fidok, Tyan, Lopez, Cooper, Jerez. Oh, Cooper's past Jerez. And Hinz. That's the top 10 order. But it has been an absolutely dominant display now from Rudy Van Buren, who has led this race from the start, got ahead into turn 1, avoided the carnage behind him, avoided the backmarkers race long, and he is now going to come out to the final lap, at the final corner on the final lap. And Rudy Van Buren is properly now going to win again in Super League. He's already won the championship and he's won another race. Added another race win to his tally. Rudy Van Buren has won it. Risto Capit is going to bring it home for a Vodball 1-2, providing there isn't some sort of final corner drama, which isn't unheard of at Brazil, at the Autodromo Jose... Not... oh yeah, Autodromo Jose Pace, as Capit finishes 2nd. Florian Gaia is going to finish best of the rest, apart from the Vodballs, in 3rd position there. Gergil Baldi driving a very good race to bring it home in 4th position, is going to come home in 4th now. David Fidok is going to drive a brilliant race to 5th. Jarl Tyan, of course, who pitted on the final lap of the race there, is going to come home in 6th position through the final corner. He comes now to claim 6th, and he will be last of the finishers on the lead lap. Already finished are Fran Lopez in 7th, Alex Cooper in 8th, Sergei Jerez, Thomas Hinz, Tobias Olsen, Bruce Zupanek, David Franchik, Liam Duval, and Michael Gauka, who I think scored the final point, but it might be the top 10 who score points. I'd research that if you're really interested, because this is, I mean, I didn't know I was going to do this until very late, so I didn't have much time to research at all. But either Michael Galka scored the final point, or Thomas Hinz did, and the final finisher was Matthew Marquard, just out of the points possibly, ahead of Chris Shepherd, who didn't finish. In fact, here are the DNS. So we've got Chris Shepherd, Stefan Ruhl, Lucas Euler, Gerrit de Vries, Nick Rowland, and Ben Horrell. So unfortunately, those are the cars that didn't finish in the race. But this has been a very, very entertaining race, in my opinion. Rudy Van Buren, absolutely dominant from start to finish. He deserves a celebration after this fantastic drive. And I also want to thank you all for watching this clip. Also, thanks to the GPVWC broadcast team for letting me make this video and bring you this cracking race late as it may be. I should also apologise again about the fact that it is late and it's not live. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. We will be back at Abu Dhabi for the season finale in 2 weeks' time on Thursday. I will see you then. Goodbye.